in sheer horror of the size of the power presentation pack today. Don't blame him. I felt like doing that last night. All right, so let's start the second session off. We'll do another 20 minutes or so, and then evaluate what we're up to. But yeah, as those that were sitting in the background, most of you will have played with these various areas. So most of it should be similar to what you've already seen over the years of self-exploration. Display settings and configurations. Now, if you've ever set up multiple screens and that, you'll be very familiar with this system. And it's something I do often, is whenever we do a cleanup and cables get plugged and unplugged, my displays don't always come back in the same order. So what you do when you got multiple displays is you run the identify button, and basically that pops a number up in each, I think it's the left-hand corner of each display, telling you which number it is. And then you just drag your display screens here, your 1 and 2, 3, 4, into the position that represents your monitor array that you're using. Okay, so let's see if I can remember where to get it. Now, where was it in this thing again?
God, who knows?
Yeah.
Right, Hayden, are you looking for displays?
Yeah.
I think it was in there at the bottom, or at least it said generic devices. At the bottom, you got your generic P&P monitor.
Oh, yeah. That's adding or removing.
Okay, unless it's personalized, I think it's...
Oh,
I guess that works.
See, use settings display. So system settings. There you go.
Why does that have 3 displays, but your other one only had 2?
This is actually my system.
Ah, duh. I actually thought the other one was your control panel as well.
No, this is PowerPoint. This is my system. All right, so basically you drag and... Why I brought this up is to show you that you drag and drop these screens around in the order that they're physically located in your array. Now, there should be a number 4 which sits here, but that hasn't been working for a while, so we won't talk about the fact that it just sits there blinking at me, not displaying anything. Nasty little thing. Alright, so the thing you can do is, actually that's what I wanted. It'll come up if I do the identify. See this number 1? So that tells you the sequence that the system recognizes your monitors on, and then you just rearrange your display array up here to match how your screens work, and that way you can scroll between the various, like from this screen is number 1. I just move my cursor straight up and I'm on my second screen. To the right, I'm on my third screen. Now, I can only jump via this corner between screens 2 and 3. Because I'm missing number 4. It's very upsetting. Alright.
What
Had to
is
give
that?
up Eve because of it, you know. Couldn't
I know.
run.
It sounds really frustrating. I have only 2 displays, but my top display is bigger than the smaller one, like physically. But it's
Yeah,
not as
well,
high quality as what mine is. So according to like that display settings, the top one is smaller than the bottom one. So like I go to move up, and if I'm on the sides, it won't actually move up. It kind of just stops.
yeah. No, I've got 24-inch screens on the bottom and 20s on the top.
Ah, yes.
But they all run the same resolution.
Yeah.
So I go from my top left corner here into my bottom left corner on this top screen. It just jumps across.
Yeah.
So, but if they're in different resolutions, then you won't have as easy jump. Basically is what you're talking about there, Tim. So there's your appearance and settings,
Is that
You can rotate your orientation of your displays to portrait. If you're doing a lot of stuff that's using web browsers and basically reading, I recommend you rotate your screen to portrait and set it up as a portrait. It makes reading websites and research and stuff so much easier. And if you've got one of these flexible arm screen holders, you can just lift it up and rotate fairly easily. And then you go through just changing your resolution, orientation, and whether your screens are just an extended desktop. So basically, you have the menu, and you can specify whether your menu is just on your primary screen or replicated on each other screen. Refresh rates are pretty well fixed under LCDs and LED screens now. They basically have a fixed refresh, whereas the old CRTs, you could adjust the refresh rates. Okay, Robert. Sessions are being recorded, so you can just come back and go through what you missed. The task for this subject this week is to read chapter 11. So it's a big chapter, as you can gather by the slides. All right, so power options, what to do, when to go into sleep mode, when to go into conserve. This isn't just available for laptops, it's available on your desktops and mobiles and everything. So basically, it's a green feature. It allows you to power down and then turn off if you so desire. So power options, settings, when to go to sleep, when to power on, power off, and hibernate and shut down. So you've got lots of settings there that you can choose from. So you can do nothing, you can go to sleep, you can hibernate your system, you can turn off the displays, or you can shut down the computer after a period of time. Now, as I said, these basically came about originally for laptops, conserving battery, but benefits to desktop owners is also energy usage and allows you to save your monitors and so forth. Windows 10 Control Panel, Device Manager, Remote Settings, System Protection, and Advanced System Settings are available under the Systems tab. And as you saw with me, you can always just do the whole search and come up with your various sections. Now, this isn't the same area. This is your basically startup boot sequence, services that are on it, startup. So you've got many ways of configuring and getting in and out. So under the system tab here, you got the control panel. So your displays, power and sleep, which I've got set to 3 hours because I do rendering and stuff. So I don't want it going to storage, going to sleep after an hour while I'm got an app running rendering stuff. So you can have a look through. There's your remote desktop, enable to give somebody access to remote services. So projecting to and from this PC. So all of it's there, searchable, findable. Have a hunt and play. Basically, is the theme of today's PowerPoint. Changing computer name. Now, just be careful when you do this. When you change computer names and things like that, it will require a reboot, so that because your computer name is attached to your root group and your network IDs and all this sort of stuff, and you do a change, it will require you to reboot so it can reset all of those associated points together with each other. Increasing performance. So basically what we want to do is look at how much virtual memory and that we want to use. Now, in here, you have to set up how much RAM you've got access to. So when, for example, if you're running this on a 4 GB machine, you would want to set up a fairly large virtual memory section, which is available to the operating system to write things to temporarily, like if it was RAM. Okay, so this is your total paging file size, and the lower the physical RAM you have, the higher the paging availability you'll need. Now, this is data that the RAM, you can't just store in RAM. So if your RAM's starting to get a bit full, it'll start writing the older stuff that it's not accessing all the time down into the page file to give it access to the faster memory. Okay. Other things that are here, startup and recovery. So debugging and setting up recovery points. User profiles, so you can save settings that are applied on your startup. Under Device Manager, you can update your drivers, rollback drivers, uninstall or disable devices, all in here. Now, Windows 10, this is all done pretty much automatically because all your manufacturers have to basically supply their drivers to Microsoft now, and they're incorporated into the operating system, whereas the older operating systems, you would have to go to the vendor websites, download and update drivers and things like that with them. But nowadays, you'll basically get a generic driver installed. In the old days, before plug and play, we would come into here and adjust file locations in memory and that for the driver. All sorts of weird stuff would be done in here. If a device had an issue, you would have this lovely symbol appear up on it saying it's got an error, and generally that would mean that the driver or something like that couldn't start, and you'd have to log in and diagnose what the issue is. In Windows 7, generally it was a missing driver, so it couldn't talk to the device properly. So our devices and printers window, this will give you your various devices that it knows, all your printers, your microphones, your keyboards and all that sort of thing are available via this tab. Sounds, we can add and change alerts, audible alerts to things opening and closing. Most people, once they go in and play for a few minutes, don't worry about it after that. Setting the clock, bottom right hand corner. Most of the times we have it just put it on automatic and put it to a time zone and leave it alone. We basically tell it to go off to the internet and sync with one of the processors out there, one of the time servers. But you can run it all within the system itself. Region settings tells it what languages to use, how to display your date and time settings. So look and feel. The main one there is languages. You can adjust to suit the language that is your primary language. Programs allow for the addition and subtraction of features into the operating system, as well as full new applications being installed or deinstalled. Features and upgrades turn various things within Windows on and off. One of the things you could have done is turn on Hyper-V for virtual machines. Not my preferred virtual machine software, but it's there. So you can go in, have a look at what services are running, and you can turn them on and off through this box. Default programs that Windows load on, like file extensions, what sort of application to use to open a mob file, that sort of thing, can all be set up here. Troubleshooting, programs, hardware, network scripts, security settings are all accessible here. I personal experience, you are the best troubleshooter there is. Okay? As you get the experience. So as
Thanks,
you
Mark. I agree.
So as you get more experience, you'll know what's causing certain behavior and you'll know how to fix it. The trouble with the troubleshooting scripts that run through the operating system is it's only scripts that somebody thought to write at the time of publication or within an update. Okay, so they won't cater or find every scenario, but while you're starting out, they can certainly point you in possible directions for you to go. BitLocker, avoid it. Is my sage advice. Unless you absolutely need to protect information on a system, do not run BitLocker, because if you forget your password, you have lost all of your data. End of story. It is that simple. Us humans forget things all the time, so just be aware of that. File Explorer folder options. This is where we set it. What the look and feel of how File Explorer shows us the information, what's in a directory, what's in the extensions, all that sort of stuff. All right, so as you can tell, most of that is stuff that you've already probably played with a million times, and it doesn't have to be done through that one system that we talked about there. 9 times out of 10, there are more than one way of getting to these settings within the operating system, like changing settings within Explorer itself will change the settings within that list. So what was it? Control panel there, File Explorer options. All right, so if you actually change settings within the File Explorer, your view settings and things like that, it writes it back to this option panel under the View tab. Just so you know. You'll be happy to know we've hit the halfway mark. I'll be happy to note that we probably should break here. And how are people's brains going? Do they wish to continue, or do they wish to cut it here and come back to this next week? What's the general consensus? Because we've hit 60. We've done 60.
Yeah, 60.
66 slides. This is slide 67.
So we're at the halfway mark?
We're at the halfway mark, yeah.
I feel like if I drink much more coffee, I'm going to start pinging off the roof. But, let's do it.
Well, Jacob, Charles, and Brad are happy to come back to it next week. So, I mean, you've got a lot there to go off, read, and explore.
Okay, that's okay.
I try to limit myself to about 60 slides for a presentation.
No, okay.
So
yeah, well, that's a valid point. That's probably better that we do it next week.
Yeah, because remember we've got another double chapter on Thursday, which again is around the 60 slide mark. So we will be breaking it in half and having it 2 bits, but this one I think will come back. I mean, we're at 1.3 and we're only halfway through, so doesn't mean you've got to stop reading your chapter when you get up to 11.3. You can read on. Yes, you do, Cooper. And I can continue from this next week, which I think is probably better because Tim's about to hit his head against the desk to try to keep himself awake. He's falling asleep with my dulcet voice.
It's better than a warm glass of milk.
The rest of you I can't see. You're probably already snoozing. It's just that I can't see you. So we'll call it quits there and come back to it.